Hi, everybody. I wanted to come on and do a little bit of a transit talk. We are now in Jinki 37 after last week in the 55th Jinki about spirit, liberation, freedom, getting out of our victim consciousness. Now, this week, it's about reclaiming the feminine part or energy inside of us. And this is both for men and women. So we're really integrating the feminine with the masculine. And the feminine is the nurturing aspect, it's the tenderness, it's the mothering, we could say. And it's very interesting to see right now, if we look at the body graph, we see that we have this channel, the tribal channel 3740, that is the channel of community, that is the sun and the earth in the second line. And this is also one of two channels that is both programming partners and a channel. We have the same with the 2343 as we have with the 3740, that it's both a channel between two centers, so harmonic gates 3740 and programming partners, which makes it extra interesting and extra strong, because they are really opposites. If you look at the hexagram, you can see that wherever we have hexagram line that is full on the 37, it is going to be open on the 40. So they are mirror opposites, and they are also on opposite sides of the wheel, and they are also on opposite sides of, you know, the seasons. You could say it's going to be half a year until we get to the 40. So the way that the Rave Mandala wheel works is that basically this is the wheel, the normal astrological wheel. So we have 365 days and we have 12 signs. And right now we are in the 37 and we were in 55 last week. So you can see that we are going counterclockwise. We are going backwards, basically. And if you're into astrology, you know, for example, that Aries is the first sign, and then we have Taurus and Gemini. So that's the same way that we do in astrology. And so if this is a wheel of 12 months and 365 days, and we have 64 gene keys or 64 hexagrams that we are putting around, you can do the maths. It's going to be 5.7 days in each key, because 365 divided by 64. So when we speak about a transit, that's why I come on sometimes every week and I speak about the transits, because it changes every 6 days, basically. And now I don't think that there's any free calendar that shows us exactly, you know, day by day or moment by moment. I know that Genetic Matrix has, for their pro, at least the pro membership, you can actually go and see any moment is automated, where not only the sun, so this is basically what that calendar does, is that it gives you, it gives you this, but not only when you go to Jovian Archive, you can do the just now chart for each moment, but you don't have a calendar view where you will see each moment all the time or every day. So, and that can be something, especially for reflectors, is important, because you're going to have the moon that is changing all the time. The line of the moon is changing every 76 minutes, I think, and then the key, their sixth line is going to change more than once a day. So that is going to create activations in the chart. So right now it's interesting, we see here we only actually have those two centers, the emotion center and the ego center, that are defined by that channel, and also the programming partners 40 and 37, that really have to do with looking at the alchemy of the family, new ways of actually creating a tribe, a community, not only bartering or, I do this, you do this, but actually a new alchemy where both the female and the male are integrating the feminine, the masculine energy inside. And then when we can meet each other as beings that are much more whole in ourselves. We're not looking for the other half apple in somebody else, but we're actually fully sovereign beings as feminine and masculine in ourselves. And that doesn't mean that we become the same. As often, as a woman, we will have more feminine qualities, but we also have that inner masculine stability somehow. And men have another kind of inner strength that comes with the feminine that is different than the outer strength that we can really see, for example, in the 37, that has to do with the inner strength. And also when we look at the core stability in the hologenetic profile, that is the pathway between the radiance and the purpose, which is the inner part, the more feminine, the more the inner, more nurturing part of the activation sequence. And is there anything else? I mean, right now it's interesting because we have Mercury as well in the 37 gate, exactly the same as the sun activation. So they are conjunct right now, Mercury and the sun, and you can see that we have a detriment. So like the kind of the non-scientific way of explaining that for me is that when we have this little triangle that's pointing downwards, for me is that we kind of have to go into the shadow. We are put to see the shadow. And then the 37 is the perceived weakness, maybe the part of ourselves that we can't love, maybe how we as society has seen the female qualities as more weak, or less than the masculine qualities. And it really makes us look at this, and the sun is shining the light, and then Mercury is about how we communicate, how we analyze things. We also know Mercury retrograde is also part of looking inwards and looking at the things that we might want to reevaluate. So that's there right now, and kind of pressing, and then it's beautiful because the moon is in the 25, which is also going to come soon in the transits. It has to do with universal love. So basically the moon now is in the line of the heart, in the 4th line, and it's also the jinki of universal love. So how can we integrate the feminine, the masculine, and actually do it through the acceptance and the embrace of all the parts of ourselves. And well, we also have the south node is the same as Mars right now. That is about dissatisfaction in the lower frequency, and you could say it's like a lack of vitality. And that's really what happens when you don't have the balance inside yourself between the masculine and the feminine. Well, that is going to lead to depletion, to dissatisfaction, to not having vitality. And again, here we have the detriment. So we kind of need to look at that on a shadow level. And the 3rd line has to do with trial and error. So there can be a lot of these things where we kind of deplete ourselves. We can see that the 58 is in the root center. That has to do with adrenals, that has to do with our energy, with our perseverance. So are you persevering for the right things? Are you committing, the 3rd line, to the right things right now? And part of that can be, is that it can be the immature masculine in Mars, for example. And the south node shows what has been for a long time the environment, that maybe it's not the right things that we are putting our energy in. So again, this reevaluation, and somehow the 52 is stillness. It's maybe a more feminine or a more being aspect, and the 58 is a more doing aspect. So again, this kind of polarity between the being and the doing, and or the feminine and the masculine, the yin and the yang. A lot of those things are showing up right now. And then it's also kind of beautiful, but it's also a detriment. We have this key of celebration. Can we, in the midst of all this, instead of having like the expectation of the outcome, or somehow when Venus sometimes, I think she's in Aries now, when she comes out and she starts to fight the masculine instead, that could be that expectations of where we're, this is where we're going to get it, we're going to take over. When if Venus would do that, then we're really in the detriment. But instead, to bring in the higher, it goes from expectations to detachment to celebration. So if we can bring in the higher frequency of Venus right now, that will help to initiate something new, if that's Aries energy. So yeah, I think that was really kind of what I can look and see right now in the transit. So this is really a snapshot right now. We know that the moon is going to change very soon. We can also again explain a bit about like all the transits are going to be active. The sun is going to be active. This is the sun sign for 5.7 days, and then we change transits. So this is around this is actually what we have built the 64 doors. So maybe you've seen some posts or either, you know, about Unlock Your Design as more of the project, but what Unlock Your Design is doing is creating the 64 doors, which really are these doors that is taking you through the transits. So they are opening every 6 days, and they are taking you through the energy, the archetype of that transit, and making it a little bit more tangible than just maybe the name of the gate or the gene key, like really starting to see if we can even personify the energy. So for now, for example, we are in the 37s and we're calling that the mother, just to have a feeling of what the energy is. And next week we are going to be in the detective, and you can pair that with what gene key or gate that is. So it's like to get a feeling for what it is to have that energy in your life, whether you have it in your chart or you have it, you know, in somebody that you know, or it's activated by the sun, to like know what energy that is there, so that you can, when you can discern it and become aware of it, you can also play with it in a different way. So the 64 doors is basically this kind of game almost, where you go into, where we open a door every transit and you get information about the door. And then on the third line, in the middle of the transit, basically on the third day, fourth day, we are also opening up challenges. Because if you think about the lines, the first line is about investigation, the second line is about, you know, kind of being with it, flowing with it. The third line is about playing, trial and error. You know, we want to do something, and it's also, you could say it's the solar plexus, it's the fire energy. So then the third day there are challenges, and then the fourth day and the fifth day, we usually have a featured ambassador for that archetype that we speak with, so that you can really see how has this archetype played out in somebody's life. And I wanted to show you a little bit about how you can get access and find this, because basically it's free resources. So we are calling it the 64 doors, but they are on the website of Unlock Your Design. So that's and I think you might be able to redirect it if you do 64 doors, or it's going to happen. But right now it's Unlock Your Design, and then you go to the 64 doors in the up here, and you can, behind the doors, like I was saying, you're going to have an archetype that we have, like, you know, done an image of, like we are creating a graphic around it, and we're describing it. Then there's a short video, 5-10 minutes, that is telling you, you know, from the human design energy, from the gene key energy, this is how it shows up. Then we have, like I said, the challenges that are going to open up every transit in the middle, so we can play with our third line. And then there are also free resources that I can show them to you, but they're like phone backgrounds and like a little bit of everything. And then there's a workbook that you can get if you want to really dive deep. Maybe it's your life's work, maybe it's your purpose, maybe it's your vacation, maybe it's an important key for you that you really want to dive deep how do you say, dive deep into, and then you have more than 20 pages to basically really just go into each line of that key and just really, you know, embody it from all the chakras, from all the lines, from all the perspectives. And then there are some quotes as well. And we also have, the really cool thing is, you know, that there is a way to contribute. This is really like a network of people, because we have astrologers, we have graphic designers, we have artists, you know, we have writers. It's like, it's really a place where we can all, it's a little bit like the living library in the Gene Keys, that really is interactive. We want to bring people in that can see it from another perspective, that can see it from their own life, they can see it from an astrological view. So this is also where you can let us know, you know, if you want to become a blog contributor, or you have, like, you know, some kind of resource that you want to share. You can get involved by just basically sending us a message here. And if we go, let's see if I can visit it from here. because what happens the first time is that it's going to ask you, I think, for the email, because if these are the doors, in the time that we are in each door, that door is going to be open, but then basically kind of stays in the labyrinth of the doors, and you actually have you have a password to get in, a little bit like, you know, you kind of stand in front of the door and they ask for the password and then you get in. We don't have that for the transit. We really want the transit to be open for everybody. So this 37 that we're in now is always open when it's in transit. And basically, you know, this is the door. Here's the archetype. You see, you know, the frequency band, a little bit about who this is, the internal motivator. It's always a mix. When we look at it, we look at it from a human design perspective and Gene Key perspective, and sometimes the I Ching as well, especially for some of them that have the same element twice. So for example, the fire starter that we were in, that's a hexagram in the I Ching that is made up of 2 trigrams of fire. And then we're going to bring that in because it's like, it's important when you have that much fire, you know. And then always, you know, there is graphics that is going to make you, not with your left brain, which many times with Gene Keys and human design it becomes kind of mental, so also have an image to really tune into. And here you can see that, you know, that mothering energy in the photos that we have right now, with the mothers and the babies. And then, like I was saying, there are the challenges. So you click on the challenges and you see here, like I said, they're not going to be released until in the middle of the transit. And if you want to have emails for everything that unlocks and get access without having to put in any password or anything, you can sign up and get them here, so that you don't have to even know what day of the transit you're in. And what more? Yeah, and then here are the resources. Here are the phone backgrounds that I was speaking to you about. And here are the featured contemplations, the blog. So here is where we have all the, you know, here is tagging. So if you have written anything on any gate, or, you know, anything that has to do, maybe a channel, maybe a code ring, that can be added to the blog, and it's going to be tagged so that it shows up when it's, you know, when that transit is active. So here you can see who's written, and when you click on the person, it takes us to the page. I think it does, at least. It's going to no, it probably doesn't take you then. So everybody that is a contributor, it's going to be featured. So you have all the different contributors, and this is just adding. So the last 2 ones is Alicia and Dylan, and these were the ambassadors, the featured archetypes for Gene Key 30, or transit in the gate 30, and the 55. And we just did a recording today as well with Lindsay that is going to come up here. So there's so many, and here you have, for example, Linda that we just saw in the blog, and we have as well Victoria. So here we are, like I said, looking for even more people to contribute. And I just feel like, you know, I love to do the transit talks, but I can also see that it's good for us to dive in it for ourselves too, and to kind of feel it, to see, you know, are you somebody who likes to go into it with the challenges, or are you somebody who actually likes to read? You know, are you auditory? You want to listen to the video instead? Like, what is your way of learning? What is your way of taking in? Which you can also probably see in your, especially in your human design, it tells you what kind of learner you are. So this is just ways of getting, you know, getting more familiar with those amazing systems that are kind of a big barrier of entry when we start with human design and Gene Keys. So this initiative with the 64 doors is really to make it more accessible and to make us together find out what they are. Because I feel after, you know, many years actually that I'm in this, like evolving all the time, when I get to dive really deep into these archetypes every week now, it's like I've discovered new things all the time, and I'm using, you know, everybody that's been before me, whether it's the wisdom keepers, whether it's, you know, a lot of the human design books with from different sources, and the living library. But I'm discovering things all the time, especially going into the line companion and see what Ra wrote about, like every single line he wrote half a page, you know. That is, it's always deepening, it's always becoming more rich. And for me, the synthesizing of it to see, like, what does it mean in my life? What does this mean when I merge it with my own experience, with you know, the body graphs in my own family, or the pentas, you know, the family energy, the group aura with the people that are in my life. So it's just a beautiful way of getting to know the archetype energies and to follow the transits. In astrology, we do it all the time, right? So when we can start doing it with human design and the gene keys as well, it really gives more body and more richness to it. So thank you so much. Bye.